To remove this air conditioning high pressure line, which is right here. It actually goes down inside, and you can see it there. It actually goes and connects up to the evaporator on the air conditioner. On the outside, it actually goes to the outside. Since the fender's gone, you can see it goes to the I forget what that thing's called for the air conditioner. So I'm just going to take that off, get this hose out of the way. There's a clamp there. Also an access plate to get that hose out easier by removing that bolt, and it just got a little snap on the other side. So okay, now on removing any air conditioning line on the Porsche, you got to remember when you pull this out, there's going to be a brass washer. See it right there? So you just have to make sure you don't lose that. And also too, it's always best to, you can reuse these depending on the condition that they're in, but on any of the air conditioning hoses, you're always going to have that brass washer that fits inside the air conditioning hose. So I got the hose pulled out of the hole there, and you can see when it goes into the driver's side wheel well, it's got another rubber grommet there that it'll get past there, but now we're going to take it off of the other side. Removing this, you can see that this isn't held. This is held in place with two hose clamps, one there and one there, and there's just a metal bracket behind it that the hose clamps go around, and that there's a screw there and there. So these hose clamps are pretty corroded. I'm going to probably have to cut them off with a little grinder and get that off. And then the hoses, this one hose that goes on the top, it actually goes and stays on the bottom of the wheel well, goes underneath the battery box to, there used to be an evaporator in the front of the car, but someone has cut it off and the evaporator is gone. So that's what the bottom hose is. And the top hose, it goes back up over and down, and it goes back underneath the car to the back of the engine compartment. These hoses are just held in with these little clamps with a screw. There's actually one clamp here to the hose that goes to the engine compartment, and there's another clamp there, one right above the wheel well, one right behind the battery box, and there's one on the bottom behind the battery box. And those, we're just going to remove all those clamps and get rid of those hoses. Alright, so that hose that goes around the wheel well and underneath the car, it actually goes underneath the driver's side. You'll see there's a clamp here that's holding it on, and as it follows alongside the car, there's another hose clamp there, a third hose clamp, and then just before it goes and crosses up behind the body, the back of the wheel well, there's another hose clamp there. So I'm going to remove all of those hose clamps. Okay, here's that hose that's been dropped now. Got all the clamps taken off on the bottom. That hose still goes up into the rear wheel well, and if you look, you'll see there is the hose right there, and it still runs up and above the rear wheel well. There's still some clamps that I'm going to need to remove. It runs up into the rear wheel well. So you can see I'm going to still need to remove some clamps, and then finally it goes into right there where it goes into the engine compartment. So got some more clamps to remove before I can pull this out. Once it enters into the engine compartment, which is right behind the fuel filter, it actually goes up and attaches to the hood hinge, which there would be another condenser up on top of the hood hinge to cool for the air conditioning. So that's where it goes. So one end of it actually goes to the rear hood wing for cooling the air conditioning, and the other side goes to the front of the car, to the front of the condenser for cooling. Okay, the hose has been removed from the car. You can see it's longer than the car itself. Okay, so this is the air conditioning box that's located in the trunk of the Porsche. I want to make a note that I've been working on this the air conditioning blower, and it's got this little gasket that sits on top like that. it is completely gone. I scraped that gasket off and vacuumed it up. As you can see inside, it's the blower and the expansion tube that's in there. So we're going to take this whole thing out right now. So there's a bracket that goes across here that we're going to be removing, and there's another bracket back down inside there that you're not going to be able to see. It's just basically like an air box, and they just have these little straps, metal straps, which I'll show you once I pull it out, on that keeps it in place. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those. Just takes a 10mm socket to take this off. Okay, now that that bolts out, see, you can see now, see, it's just a metal bracket that goes from, it screws onto the box and then to the side of the car. It keeps it in place. There's another one of these right down in this corner right here that I'm going to get to now. Just a little L bracket that's in the back, that this side here goes to the box and this side goes to the back of the wall inside there. Now there's just a high pressure line right here that that we're just going to loosen that nut like that. That little brass washer goes inside the fitting. All of them, all of the fittings on this car has that washer, so make sure you don't lose that, because you want to put it back in or purchase a new one to put in there. Probably best to purchase a new one. And once that's up and out of the way, our box comes out. Okay, now the next thing is this door that's on here. We just want to take that door off. It just has 4 Phillips screws, 2 on each hinge. Just like that, and the door is now off. Okay, so we're underneath the car now. We're actually right next to the rack and pinion right here, and here's this air conditioning line coming out from underneath the car, and it actually goes down the center of the car here. There's a clamp, and it runs all the way down to the end of the car, as you can see, all the way down to the engine compartment. So basically we're just going to start removing all these clamps, and we'll take the hose out. Okay, so we're back in the engine compartment. Here's that air conditioning hose. There was 2 clamps that's just clamped to the side next to the wheel here. There's one there and one down there that was clamped just to the side of the body. So took those 2 clamps out, and now this hose will just pull right out from the top, and we'll be able to get the air conditioning hose removed. Okay, we have the expansion tank removed from for the air conditioning, and here is that metal rod that was actually just screwed to the side of the Porsche, and it actually screwed right onto there, onto this part right there, and with these nut plates on the back side